Hello, everyone. My name is Patricia Ibiapina. I'm a private teacher. I'm also a teacher's tutor, teacher's trainer, and today I'm talking about pedagogical and administrative strategies for private teachers. This video is part of a project. Our event doesn't end when it finishes by BRAZ-TESOL Espírito Santo. So, to start, I'll talk a little bit about my experience as a private teacher. Yes, I became a private teacher kind of by accident. Yes, I used to work in the city center of Rio, and there were many people asking for private lessons, so I became a private teacher. I used to work at a language school there, so it was very easy for me to get private students at the time. So as I was used to being a teacher at a language school, I had this mindset of teaching students the same way I used to teach at the school. So I started seeing that what I was doing was not working in terms of methodology. Then I changed the material and the problem remained the same. So what to do? Then I thought, well, maybe it is the student, the problem, right? And then I came to the realization that nobody likes to think of, but I saw that the problem was me. It was the way that I was teaching. I was teaching all the students the same way, all the levels, all the needs. I was just putting all my students in the same box. Yes. And I'm asking you here, does that sound familiar? Has it happened to you too, or is it happening now? Okay. How do you start teaching? If you're not a private teacher, why would you like to become one? There are some questions that I'll be asking you here because this is a kind of reflective video. So one of the things that we need to have in mind is to find a niche, right? So back in time, I didn't have this idea, yes, of niche. What is this? A business niche is a specialized or focused area of a broader market that your business serves specifically. Think of a language school that the first language school that comes to your mind is they probably have a specific niche, right? So maybe they teach business people, maybe they teach teenagers or children. Yes, same should apply to you. And why is it important to find a niche? Okay, it's because it allows us to reuse materials. So it saves time, it makes our life easier, right? So it enables us to improve our professional skills. So since when you teach the same, like using the same material, you know how to do things better, right? It gives us more motivation and confidence. Once you become a better teacher, once you know how to use well the material, you feel more confident to teach. Increases your authority, that's also related to your confidence, enables us to have groups, yes? And minimize competitions. So if you are teaching business or if you are teaching kids, teenagers, yes, if you have a specific niche, then you don't have so much competition. And here there are some questions that you should ask yourself. Okay, before deciding which niche you are going to work with, you should think, do you like working with children? Yes, no, never tried or never thought about it. Okay, so do you like working with teenagers? Do you like working with elderly people? It's also a very nice niche. Do you like working with ESP, so English for specific purposes? Do you like working with business English? Or do you like working with exam preparation? Or do you like working with a specific group? For example, nowadays there are some teachers that, some female teachers that teach only women, okay? The second thing that we should think of is needs analysis. Remember the story that I was talking about, that I was teaching all the students the same way. So it is very important that we think of needs analysis. And what is needs analysis? It's a systematic and ongoing process of gathering information about students' needs and preferences. Okay, so you're going to check the information. Yes, you're going to check what your student needs. It's basically, you start thinking of a lesson plan and thinking of material and etc. based on your students' goals. Okay, so this thing has to meet, yes, your lesson actually has to meet your student's goal. Yes, it's useless teaching, yes, things like traveling abroad if your student needs something, yes, has a different need. For example, oh, I need to speak English in front of my boss, like giving presentations at work. So why would you teach this person things for traveling abroad? Makes no sense. So this is the thing. The more information you have about the context, the easier will be for you to decide what to teach and how. So at first, if it's a new student, of course, you don't have much information about the whole scenario in which the student is in, but through time it gets easier. Okay. There is this thing that sometimes people are kind of scared, that's placement, right? So it's also part of the needs analysis to have a placement test. So test which will indicate at which level a learner will learn most effectively in case of different levels of streams. What do I do? This is something that I kind of saw that it became easier not only for me but also for my students. Once you have a new student and then you tell this person that you're going to give him or her a placement test, they get nervous. So during my trial class, what I usually do is to have a conversation, introduce myself, and then I start talking about my career, etc. And then I ask the person questions as if we were having a conversation. Of course, this is for the oral part, but then you kind of have an idea of which level this student is in. Okay. Analyze the placement and discussing. Analyzing the placements and discussing is a very important part of the process because you need to consider the rate of audience. Yeah, so which one do you think fits the placement and why? Yes. And what about the placement strengths and weaknesses? There is the thing, when you look for a placement test, you shouldn't trust this placement test blindly, meaning analyze the placement test that you've found online, yes, or you can even use a ChatGPT so as to help you out, because there are some some questions, some exercise, some activities there that, at least for me, they make no sense, right? So adapting is essential, yes, for me, not only in terms of nowadays we have been talking a lot about personalizing classes, yes, but it's not only about lessons itself, but also the process. Here we are talking about some tips, but of course, some tips work for me, they might not work for you, so you should also adapt, all right? So as I mentioned, this the needs analysis is usually, I usually do it during the trial class. Lots of students want, oh, I want a trial class, I want a trial class. Okay, for me, a trial class is the moment in which I analyze the students' needs. I also get to know the students. Through that, I get to know the students' goals. I introduce the student to the way that I work, Yes, I introduce him to the part, not only the pedagogical in terms of material and possibilities, but also the administrative things. And this is a moment in which we kind of negotiate, yes, how things will be done. All right. And have in mind that placement tests aren't exact science. So some people get nervous, as I mentioned, sometimes they don't produce well, they don't give everything that they have because they are nervous, because in their mind they're being tested, and they are, yes, they're being and then they get nervous. And the placements are based on the course goals. So you have the needs analysis and then the placement test. One thing that's very important for us private teachers is pedagogic organization, meaning some students of mine have experienced things like, oh, my previous teacher didn't know what to do. I felt that I was not improving. There was no progress. So it is essential to show our students that it is possible, yes, to progress having private lessons, but it starts with us, all right, teachers. So this is what I have been doing at Higher Up with my partner, Ellen. Talking about Ellen, we, both of us, presented this at BRAZ-TESOL, the last conference, the international one. But today Ellen couldn't be with me because she is giving a talk in Prague. All right, so this is what we do. We have a daily feedback. It is very important that the feedback not only points out the wrong things that students have been doing, but also why don't you start with the good examples, showing the student what he's been doing? Yes, he's been doing well. So we start with the good examples. We also have this section of pay attention to. So you should pay attention to this and that. That is connected to the suggestions. So we get the mistakes that are relevant for the lesson, yes, because sometimes some mistakes are not relevant for the lessons. So we get the mistakes that are relevant for the lesson. We put there on pay attention to. I don't give the student the answer. Then I ask the student to help me out. Yes, in terms of, oh, take a look at this sentence. What can I do here to make this correct? All right. Pronunciation issues. Every now and then, yes, we see some students that are making the same mistakes over and over again. So how to avoid it? So pronunciation issues we have here, and then you may do as you feel like, as the correction as you feel like. Some people drill, some people ask students to repeat after them. So and then the suggestions that, as I mentioned before, it's connected to the pay attention to, and we can also put here some, what I usually do is it's put here some expressions and things that come along the lesson. One of the things that we do at Higher Up is this development report. Yeah, so it's a feedback of a student's performance at the end of the term. So you may ask your students for feedback on your lessons too. It's very important. We also ask students, so is there anything that we have been doing that you think that it's not so nice, or is there something that you feel more comfortable? So it's also nice to hear from our students. Yeah, so here we have the development report. And going to the next step, pedagogical organization, talking about absence. I got this example of a student who had this terrible habit of missing lessons, as he couldn't be in class because of work and etc. So sometimes we need to have a serious talk to the student, because this is the thing. Not everyone who wants to learn English has time and dedication to learn English. So at least what I do is the following. I try to have this conversation. There are some students have lessons 4 times a week. And I know as a private teacher, it's very common that people feel excited. We get happy. We are happy when we think of more money, right? But my question is, are you really willing to having these lessons? Yes, 4 times a week, it's a big commitment. Are you able to have these lessons? So I put here as the content, and as you may see, everything is very organized based on dates and etc. because it is good for you in case the students are like, oh, because we didn't have this lesson, etc. And I paid for 20 lessons, but I only had 10. And yeah, why did you have 10? Have in mind that your student doesn't pay, or at least he shouldn't, as unless you have a different way of conducting your private lessons, but he shouldn't pay for the lesson. He should pay for your availability. Yes, he's not paying for the lesson itself. If he misses the lesson, I'm sorry. What else can you do? Personalized study plan. This is something that we do. We guide students to, like, we tell them what to do each day of the week according to his availability. So what do I do, or her availability? What do I do? I have the serious conversation with the student, and if he decides to study twice a week, I ask him or I ask her, do you have any other day that you can dedicate to English? Then I build, yes, a personalized study plan with him or with her so that he or she can follow. And it is very important to give students autonomy, all right? Resource list with the websites and exercise each student should do. So I also give this resource list that is connected to the study plan so that my students don't need to send me messages all the time. Teacher, what's the website that you told me about that can help me out with pronunciation? Well, avoid this, all right? Daily sense of achievement. By the end of the lesson, the student needs to have the feeling that he or she has learned at least one thing. Yes, at least one thing. Assessment. What about assessment? What's your definition of assessment? So, as teachers, when we carry out assessment, we have to measure the performance of our student and the progress they make. Yes, this is basically why assessment exists. We also need to diagnose the problems they have and provide our learners with useful feedback, according to Harris and McCann. There are basically two types of assessment, summative and formative, okay? Summative is the type of assessment which aims to measure students' performance at the end of a period of a study, meaning test, right? Also called achievement test of assessments, which aims to measure students' performance. It is summative. It's very common in more traditional methods of education, right? And formative is the type of assessment which feeds back into learning and gives the learner information of his or her progress throughout a course. All right. It's also called a progress test. It's not a formal or a traditional test in which students have to fill in the blanks and etc. So you're going to check the performance, yes, progressively. I really like this one. And it fits well the way that I teach, as private students usually don't look for having tests. Here we have some examples of summative and formative. So standardized tests like SATs, ACTs, right? They measure the students and score the students. So you got an A, you got an A, you got a B. And formative, we also have concept maps. So students will create visual diagrams to represent the understanding of a topic. Final grades, yes, that everybody knows. Grades that summarize a student's performance in a course based on various assessments. So they have tests, and then like midterm, and then final tests, and then you have the final grade. Formative, you may have quiz and polls, short and informal quiz to check understanding during a lesson. Yes. It's very common that people have oral presentations, yes, at schools or language schools, so they are also summative. They demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of a subject. Journals are formative, so students maintain learning journals where they reflect what they have learned. All right. Now talking about administrative tasks, there are some decisions, a couple of decisions that you'll have to make. So you should ask yourself, as I mentioned before, what works for me may not work for some other people. So this is something that you'll find out along the process. So you should ask yourself, should I make up for missed class? Yes, but I chart for it. Yes, but it will depend on my schedule. No, but I'll send materials to be studied. What I usually do is the following. I shouldn't have one lesson per month in case he or she has an emergency. Yes, I think it is fair with him. It's fair with me. But we need to pay attention because sometimes I am the one who isn't available to give an extra lesson. If the student doesn't tell me in advance that he or she isn't able to be in class, so I'm kind of waiting for him. Yes. Should I have a contract? Yes, because it will protect me, or no, because I don't want trouble. I trust my students. I've never had problems. It's up to you. How should I charge my students? So Pix, WhatsApp, a Paygate, a bank payment slip. How should I communicate with the students? There are some people that use WhatsApp or email. Some people use both. Okay. Should I set working hours to the soul? Oh, yes, because I don't want to answer students all the time. Fair enough. No, because I want them to feel they can talk to me anytime. No. Okay, it's up to you. And last last one, should I have a May? Yes, because it gives me benefits like retirement in case of something like an accident or happens, right? Or no, I save for retirement and others by myself. Okay, so these are the references. And you can access the PDF of the slides using the QR codes here. And this is my social media. These are my social media, so you can find my social media on Instagram and LinkedIn. And here you have the QR code for Higher Up Business English website. Okay, it was a pleasure. Bye-bye. See you.